Hey, what's up, Shane?
All right. Hey, Sam. Ready for another episode, and this one's going to be a fun one.
Let's go. Let's go.
So,
What do you
yeah,
got? What do you got?
this format, I think this episode, we're going to go pretty deep on AI, and I want to make this approachable in a way, but I also want to, clarify and kind of disclaim to all of the listeners out there and the watchers out there, like, I'm going to talk about some pretty deep concepts. It's going to kind of break the way that your brain thinks about things, especially if you haven't been in this for that long, or maybe you're not really into the AI thing at all yet. This is going to sound trippy. It's going to sound futuristic, but I can assure you that everything that Sam and I are doing and what I'm talking about is grounded in things that I'm like literally doing on my computer in the background right now. It's things that we're using in the business. Um, there is a little bit of like looking ahead of what this might mean. But I mean, when I'm talking looking ahead, it's like, oh, I see this is already occurring. These are already forming. I'm just trying to understand it so I can then kind of regurgitate and use it and then tell people. Um, so this is not meant to be a hype session or anything like that. If anything, this episode is really about informing everybody who hasn't gotten a start with AI or has been maybe reluctant or just, hey, that doesn't apply to me, all those types of things. For those that are like, wow, I'm not ready to really dive deep on this yet, and I want like some foundational stuff. If you go back to our earlier episodes, we have a number of early on episodes that covered the basics, the foundations, introduction, what it is. We talked about the history, and AI goes back to 1956. So we're 70 years into this now. And if you're looking for good reading on like the trajectory and the exponential growth curve that we're like sitting on the inflection point of right now. The Singularity is Near, and then a follow up book called The Singularity is Nearer. I would highly recommend going to read those. It might be a little dense and heavy. It's pretty technical. In a sense, it's approachable, but still pretty deep technical. But I would say go check that out. It will give you a lot of context and appreciation for what's going on, and that it seems like this change is happening really rapidly, but it's been slowly building over hundreds and thousands of years, actually. So,
And
um,
Shane, I'm gonna jump in here and say, pause this, go back to episodes 28 and episode 31. A lot of foundational work from Shane around just the 3WC framework, just
mm,
how to structure the best prompts, and just an easy way to kind of wet your toes kind of into this space. And then episode 31, the AI adoption framework. I thought that one was a really good one to um, that applies to anyone wherever they are in their AI journey right now. They're like 18 minutes, 20-minute episodes. So I would pause this, go back to episodes 28 and 31, fly through those, and then come back here or
yeah.
whatever route you want to go.
Yeah, thanks for that. It's really, really great to have those out there as assets that people can lean back on and dive back into. And yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about a state of the union of where we're at. So, end of 2025 into early 2026, I think that when you look back at things, there are certain triggering events throughout history of all different, like big changes. And I think we're all going to look back at the release of OpenClaw as one of those momentous events. Now, it went relatively under the radar to some degree. Like if you're not, it really, I think, only recently has gotten out somewhat onto mainstream media, but people also are going to be like pretty skeptical. And if you're not in the software engineering, programming, developer space slash AI intersection with that, then it's probably something that you don't know about. But the reason I bring that up is because there's been a number of clips come out this week of Jensen Huang from NVIDIA, and he talked about really summing it up, saying that OpenClaw is kind of the new ChatGPT moment of today, meaning when ChatGPT released, that was a completely new paradigm shift of how people could actually leverage through natural language, interact with a large language model. And then Now we have OpenClaw, which is an open source framework for an agentic or an agent that is essentially your personal assistant, your executive assistant slash can do way more than that. But it's an always on framework for AI to interact with you and if you so choose, work for you. Um, and that is such an important moment that he has earmarked that, as well as said that now, every company really needs to have what he called an open claw strategy. And what that means is basically how you're going to implement and manage teams of agents in your business. And Shane's take on this and how I kind of reconcile and wrestle with this in my brain is, and kind of like clarify it, is I really think about if you're doing a job and it's a tactical job, a tactile job where you're hands on, say you're a carpenter or you're a roofer or you're an auto mechanic, and we think about, or even in a warehouse, in a factory, a worker in that case, if you think about those, though, for a long time, people have been talking about and building and trying to figure out how to use robots to do that, like autonomous robots to go do that. And the way I think about knowledge workers and anybody who works on a computer for their livelihood and value production and creation, we're essentially creating robots of the roles that we all do on a computer. And instead of calling it robots, it's just called an agent. And so the way the world is going is, as much as I want to say agentic, it is that, but it's really, I like to say robotic. It's autonomous robots. And whether you call the robots an agent because it's running on your computer, or if we look even a little bit further out into the future, this year, I think it's is it Optimus is going to be released, like your personal at home, the first one versions of those will be released this year. And so um robots to do physical tasks autonomously, where it's going to, like, pick up all the stuff on your floor, it's going to vacuum, it's going to do the dishes, it's going to, like, these house things, laundry, etc. um, that is coming, and it's going to take a little bit longer to refine that. But to do knowledge work on a computer is not that complex because it's all done through a computer. And what is all of that really? At the end of the day, it's all zeros and ones, and it's really programming, and it's a language and software development, right? And so everything behind what we do on a computer is all just code, and it's data and code, and all of that is on the backside, and AI does really, really well with that. And so all we have to do is be able to establish pretty much well documented, well um, published information, which has been out there on the internet, and these LLMs are trained on the entirety of the public internet, so they know everything. They know the roles. They generally know the workflows. The differences are how you specifically handle those workflows in your business. But now that we have that, the agent orchestration layer is there. We now have frameworks for these large language models to run autonomously 24/7 in the background and do things for you. So, as an example of this, there are people out there who have, in one case, I know of a person who has over 300 OpenClaw instances running. And one OpenClaw instance can encompass a team of agents in it that are being orchestrated by a master, kind of a leader orchestrating agent, and they are running all of that. And there's a term called, like, now coming out, like a software factory, where these teams of agents are building software, writing code 24/7, 365. The only time that they stop is if they lose power or internet connection. And so from like, for folks who are not in this space, you might notice that, like, hey, software tools that I'm using are getting a lot better faster. Like, oh, that feature I wanted that used to take a year to get implemented, like, all of a sudden, oh wow, that feature is there. Well, guess what? The software and the apps out there are going to get that much better faster. But also, we're going to see, probably over time, the ultimate contraction and really demise of software, especially SaaS as we know it, because you can now build your own software for very low cost and a very short amount of time. And if we think about robotics to replace humans doing physical tasks, um, the biggest thing that I can point to of kind of how to wrap your head around this is the LLMs and the agents that have been built by folks like Anthropic for building and developing Claude. The programmers and the software engineers who are building Claude, which is right now, I don't know, it's number one or number two in the App Store, right? Since a couple weeks ago, the people building that have not been handwriting or typing a single line of code since last November. So we're almost 4 months into this, and right now the large language model and the agents that are running on that model are building the software for itself to make it better. And so it's going to iterate at the speed and how it performs, and the features are going to get that much better, that much faster. And that's really the exponential explosion in event. So we have that capability. And so, yeah, for folks that are in software engineering, programming, all of that stuff, it's a big time to pivot right now. And then if you're in that space and it hasn't hit you yet, I can tell you it's coming. Um, and it just happens to be that the folks that needed to develop these tools were software programmers and engineers and all of that. And so those are the roles that are getting replaced first. But anybody who's a knowledge worker out there not doing a physical job, I mean, there's studies out there. Anthropic just released a really great guide on it. And it's, lawyers, accountants, anybody who, again, works at a computer, it's 80 to 90% exposure. So if you're not thinking about it, I beg with you, I plead with you. I'll keep putting information out there. And when you come around, we're here. If you're in SEO, reach out to Sam Lee, Key Rise Consulting on LinkedIn. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Shane Chalupa, or on Instagram at Shane Chalupa, because I'm telling you, this year, it's man, there was a lot of talk the last 2 years, and I think there were some really big breakthroughs last year. But the pace of the breakthroughs and developments is exponential now. And what you can build with a team of agents is wild. And for our business, one thing I wanted to kind of quickly dive into is like, okay, what does that look like to like build a team of agents? And in short, I like to use Claude Code, and inside of Claude Code, it has its own multi-agent orchestration layer through the agent SDK. And so I can use Claude Code as an interface to deploy agents to write and build software and tools and do other tasks as well, through building its own, if it needs to, building its own tools or using predetermined, pre-built tools. And so you have things like commands, skills, and they now have the plugins. Um, but the way to break it down is like when you come into your computer in the morning, each day, you probably have a standard process, somewhat give or take, right, of what you do, the workflows that you run through. You're probably a lot of times like manipulating data, pulling data down, analyzing it, moving that data to somewhere else, creating some type of output deliverable that then either goes to another team member to continue that workflow, or is end up getting like peer checked, quality checked, and then published out to the client, sent via email or transmittal or whatever the case is. Maybe you have a meeting to present it. Almost all of that can be done. The actual doing part of that can now be done with Claude Code. And the part that the humans will stay in the loop, I think, for quite some time is you have to spend a lot of time up front with what's called context engineering and or problem framing and solution architecting, and then getting it to all operate the way that you want it, and then reviewing the outputs and going back and forth with it, just like if you had a team of junior whatever position it is, right? Like junior, I don't know, attorneys or lawyers or whatever, the engineers in my case, right? You review those outputs, you say, oh no, this doesn't look good enough. Or you can even now spin up an agent team to peer check it, highlight those items, get it to a really good point, and then you invest your time heavily on making sure that the quality is good before it goes out. So and the speed at which you can do that is insanely fast. So instances where we're using it. One is obviously in past episodes we've talked about marketing being and lead generation being a big piece for us, and our time is limited, and I like to invest in the workflow and understand it. So I'm actually in the process now of building out a team of agents that we're going to deploy through Claude Code right now. Over time we'll probably pick up another orchestration layer. There's some really interesting stuff coming out, but right now we're going to deploy it through Claude Code. And I'm essentially building out teams of agents to handle all the little pieces of the workflows for marketing in our business. And there'll be a head of marketing. There will be sub departments under that with heads that are agents. And then there will be agents under those that are going to actually do the specific tasks. So going out, researching content, figuring out what's trending, giving ideas, and then I will ideate with it and come up and get my tone of voice captured and create the different pieces of content. And then they'll go out, schedule it in the platforms, do all of the behind the scenes work to get it out onto the social media platforms. Same thing with any of the cold outreach, email outbounds. We'll come up with the sequences. We're going to use the frameworks that I like to use, the well published, kind of authoritative figures in the space that I want to mimic. And it will go make all that happen in the background, even while I sleep. And then um, the last part is, let's see, free. We got free and paid. So we got paid ads. It will help us generate and then build and deploy those. Anybody, neat little aside there is anybody who doesn't know, Manus, which was really the first general AI agent that you could use through a chat interface, was acquired by Meta. And so now Meta has that available. And we're seeing that kind of like the Meta ads platform is now becoming agentic in the sense of you can plug into it and they're making it a bit easier to interface with and allow agents to do that work. Um, yeah. So what does that look like? Well, I'm going back and forth with AI to go through and understand what those workflows look like. Like, what are the inputs that I need to give it for it to be successful? What are the skills and workflows and processes and checkpoints that we need to have? And then I need to have clear responsibility roles and responsibilities for the agents, and then they can build out their skill packs for that. And once we have all that defined, then we can start test running certain of the kind of doer agents to get all that done, and we'll just build it out from there. And so, and when I say build out, I mean I'm talking kind of like part time in the evenings for the next maybe couple of weeks, and then we'll probably have it up and running. So yeah, I it's just it's exciting time, it's crazy time, it's a wild time. And there's certainly going to be a lot of people who are going to have to rethink their skill set and redistribute their value creation in a new way, because just sitting behind a keyboard, going to meetings, drinking coffee, and doing data transfer and things like that is long gone now. And the real value creation is by really being like a solution architect, context engineering upfront, problem solving, and then prototyping and building solutions out and delivering those solutions as kind of demos over memos is a new way that I've heard it termed, where instead of bringing the old memo into the leadership meeting, it's like, nope, here's a working prototype of this tool or this app or this workflow, whatever you're going to do. Like, that's it. And so we're trying to pivot and integrate that into like creating immense value for our clients up front. And we're kind of dabbling with a few different ideas of like, for one lead that I just had come in, it was like, oh, hey, we run free webinars. We've got one coming up next week, March 25th. If you're interested, reach out to me on LinkedIn or Instagram. I'll send you the link. It's for engineering powered businesses and how to use AI and leverage it. But one of the leads reached out, was like, oh, hey, I gave him the link, and then I also just like asked Claude Cowork, I'm like, hey, could you do an SEO and GEO audit on their website, and like just to see like at a high level at a first pass, like what does it do? And then like it created an output report. Of course I can't understand or read that, but at least it's something that is of value for them. And I didn't end up sending it. I was kind of like testing it. But that's the type of value that you can create upfront with, I mean, very minimal cost and minimal time to deliver to your client to make a further engagement of like, okay, well, that's great. Either, for Sam, he could actually implement and help you out with that. On my side, I'm trying to figure out like, okay, what could we deliver up front? There's things like a financial audit where we can literally have Claude Cowork go through exports of their financials and literally find hundreds of thousands of dollars in just kind of leakage and funds that are just being wasted over the last year or two, and close those up and then save them money and help their bottom line out. So some of the things that we're thinking about, but yeah, it has become very powerful, and you can do a lot of work as an individual if you know how to orchestrate and manage the team and start thinking about it as an agent orchestrator, and a workflow really builder to hand over to the agents to do. And if you know the outcomes you want and you can kind of give it clear inputs on that, then it can be very successful. And as just another aside, I mean, if I rewind the clock back to, or like mid December, Christmas break, even, I was just kind of messing around trying to figure out Claude Code at that time. Now here we are, pretty much three months to the day, and I'm building like multiple pieces of lightweight software every single day for different things that we need in the business. Some of them work and work out and are very highly useful. Others are kind of like, oh, that was a dud. That didn't work out the way I wanted it to. But the point being is that whatever problem you have in your business, you can solve that by just ideating, going back and forth with Claude Code, and then it will literally put the team of agents on it to do whatever it is you want to do. So that's a lot. Man, we went pretty hard and heavy on that one. And I would say if anybody is kind of interested in like what does that look like, what does the future hold? I guess near future, right? Like I'm only thinking over the next 6 to 12 months, but uh, needless to say, summarizing all of that, it is if you work behind a computer, um, your company, like the people that employ you, I can assure you are thinking about ways to make a robotic version of you, which is going to be called an agent. And you have a choice. You can become and seek out training to become an AI operator and an AI solution architect in your specific role, which makes you uniquely positioned and highly valuable right now. Or you can just sit by the wayside and just keep doing your current role. And unfortunately, I think that there comes a time, we're going to see it this year, where the workforce is going to get redistributed. I mean, it's going to happen.
And a lot of companies are upskilling their employees because of that. They
Yep.
know the risk of not leveling people up. And look, there's a lot of people that will just be dragged along in this, which is fine. We're not saying that everyone needs to be where we're at.
Totally.
There's certainly people that are so far beyond where we're at, but just incremental. And first, like just realizing the current state of the working economy and how disruptive this is. I think we need to get there as soon as possible, and then figure out how do you upskill yourself and um, continue to be a valuable resource in whatever function you provide services and support in. For me, even a year ago, I was still skeptical about not AI, but I was skeptical of how much of my day to day can be replaced. Um,
Yep.
and at that time, like started to replace a few things, but man, like I think with I think it was Claude Code that really started to open the eyes of a lot of SEO professionals, marketing
Hmm.
professionals, because we were always, I don't know, the marketing community is very like protective of like them being, the strategic head. Like we are the only ones that know how to do X, Y, and Z to be creative. And I think to a certain degree that'll always be there. But once Claude Code came out and you might have seen YouTube videos or you've tried to use it yourself, you start to realize that, wow, like you can replace a lot of the day to day tasks that consumed your day to day. So I'm certainly at a point now where I can certainly see 70% of my um, client delivery getting agentic and automated. So yeah, we're there, guys.
Yeah.
Like it's time to take this seriously. But also let's be excited about it because I can speak for Shane 100%, 1,000% that work is starting to get really fun. Like
Yeah.
this is like at the core of it, you're almost making your work easier. So in a way, it's you're almost working less, but you're certainly working on much more important things that can really make the automation really terrible, really ineffective, or so supercharged that you really don't have to work as much as you do now. So I think that's where I get a lot of excitement. It's the potential and just like the mini, like what I'm finding right now is like this transition in my brain from AI and agentic workflows as a point solution to a workflow solution. When I see a problem right now, I can easily deploy a tool that does the work in half the time, maybe even less. But now it's more a matter of how do I put all of these point solutions together to automate an entire workflow? So the time savings and the mental calorie saving is much more exponential. So um, yeah, Shane, you're at the front edge of this right now. So any knowledge that you continue to share, hopefully the listeners find value out of it. I certainly always find value whenever we are able to hop on a call and talk about AI. But it's here, man, and we gotta take advantage of it.
Yeah, it is fun, and that's core to our business, and one of the main reasons that I we really ultimately went from niche engineering consulting and pivoted into AI enablement is because upward a lot of people this is true, but especially in engineering, it's like 40 to 60% of an engineer's time is spent on non-technical tasks like action item tracking, putting time in for your timesheet, like all email, all this stuff that is not really fun and exciting. And people joke about it in college of like, oh yeah, when you get out you're actually never going to really do engineering. And so now it's fun, man. You have a problem, you can literally bash that thing down, break it down, overcome it in such an incredibly fast amount of time. Like, it's crazy. So it is getting more fun. And I think my advice to anybody at any level right now, whether you're coming out of college, you're kind of at a unique intersection here where it's going to be a little more difficult, but or if you've been in your role for a long time on both sides of that, I think the thing that you could do the most is just soak up as much information and knowledge and education as you can on it and make that a superpower for you instead of treating it as an Achilles heel or some kind of like almost a disability coming out for you. Treat that thing as a superpower for you and go all in on it. And if you can create and generate value with AI plus insert job title, profession, whatever it is, your education, your degree, all that. If you have AI plus in front of that, you're going to be highly attractive, and if you generate value, you will find a place. I guarantee you. There's so much opportunity out there, but of course, the mainstream media, they're going to push the narrative that's going to fearmonger and get them the most clickbait, most clicks, and be clickbaity. And that's going to be the layoffs. But at the same time, they're not going to publish all of the jobs created for the infrastructure we have to build to make this a reality. All of the new roles that are going to be created for agent orchestration, agent management, agent investigation, and all of the upkeep of all this. So, yeah, don't let it overwhelm you and get scared. There's so much opportunity. There's never been a better time. And I would say you got to just dive in and get education. And if you're interested in any free resources that we have at Upnovit, from myself and our team, feel free to message me the word Claude on Instagram or on LinkedIn, Shane Chalupa, and I will send you out a bunch of free resources that we got, including a direct link over to the Anthropic study about the different job displacement or replacement opportunities that are out there with AI, and kind of how that can infiltrate and take over a lot of the work that gets done.
That's awesome. And I feel like we could go on and on about this, but I think Anthropic also came out with a whole like course that you can
Free
take as
courses.
well.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
so much free material out there.
I'm loving it. I'm loving it. I think that's also a great marketing strategy for a lot of new technology firms. It's just very deep dive product knowledge,
Hmm.
product training. It's always been around, but I think you can go even deeper and provide a great experience. So a little more nuanced kind of conversation maybe to be had there as we think about how to position our businesses from kind of a consumer education standpoint. But yeah, lots of great info, free info. Definitely reach out to Shane. Maybe we close this out by I'm so curious what your tech stack is looking right now, as
Hmm.
far as what you're currently using to deploy agents. Um, I'll go first. I'm using. I don't know if you heard of Ghosty. It's a new one for me.
Okay.
It's basically a terminal. It's your terminal, but you can have multiple terminals up, as you can with your regular terminal. But it's so incredibly fast. Like I'm
Okay.
on a MacBook Air, which isn't like I'm waiting to upgrade to a Pro very soon and maybe some minis,
Yeah.
but I can run so many different terminals. If I'm creating like different tools in one web app for one client, I can have multiple terminals so I can go back and forth from different projects that ladder up to the same project, but it doesn't slow my computer down at all. It's not hot.
Hmm.
So I'm primarily using that. I love just the terminal
Hmm.
user interface. I think it's clean. I've always loved interacting there. But yeah, Claude Code using in Ghosty, that's my go-to right now. And I'm just starting to dabble in Cowork. So I'll definitely reach out to you because I know you've been dabbling a lot in Cowork. But yeah, what are you using for the folks that may be a little bit more AI forward? I think it'd be interesting to hear someone of your caliber and what you're currently using.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I do. To be honest with you, on a daily, I don't typically run Claude Code out of PowerShell or the command line in Windows. I find myself running it in two places. I will spin up multiple cursor instances, so I pay for the lower tier of cursor, and then I will run it through there because it's just a nice, clean user interface, especially on a Windows machine. And so I will get that running on deeper projects and just spin up the terminal inside of that, similar to how you're using Ghosty. And then I will actually just use the Claude desktop app and spin it up there, because I can spin up a ton of tasks inside of Cowork, let it go do things, especially where it needs to use my browser through the Chrome connector. And then I will pull up the Claude Code side of it, the tab on the desktop app, and then start some coding sessions in there and started building out in there. So yeah, it's really, really focused on that. We still run some Copilot just for the easing the connectivity with all of our Microsoft ecosystem. That's has usefulness and utility. And then we are really cutting down somewhat on ChatGPT and also on Perplexity. Although I know Perplexity just released the computer, which is a 24/7 autonomous agent there. So there's always new things coming out, but I think now we're seeing people start to just kind of go deeper into one of the platforms and really use that as the workhorse. And for us and for me, the agent orchestration through Claude Code right now, I am just at the early days of, there's a new open source framework out there called Paperclip for helping you manage your team of agents and your kind of your business structure. It's pretty interesting. So we're kind of dabbling around with that. And then yeah, I do have an open claw running, and it's sitting over here on the Mac Mini. Trying to figure out and really wrap my head around all of this, of the best way to set up the infrastructure and really, really let things go 24/7. But I'm trying to do it in a really thoughtful, safe, secure way. So that's the primary tech stack. And I also want to note that, like, having a way to record not only verbal conversations that you're having in person, but then also like a meeting follower, like if folks have not started that yet, I highly encourage you to get some type of meeting notes taker. Well, I just got turned on to a new one that's really security privacy first called Fellow, Fellow AI. And it is great because it's privacy and security first. And it has a really great connector built in for Claude. And then we can also, it has a lot of great, it's easy to connect to through the API as well. And I just ran a workflow the other day where now I get off of a sales call and I literally just say, grab the transcript, put it in this folder where we store them, create a scoring guide for how the sales call went, create the action items, and then go execute the action items for me and culminate with a follow up email with the resources. And co-work just goes and does that. And I move on to my next thing. And I come to an email in my drafts box. I review it, tweak it, send. And that's, and we could, you could automate that even further where it's like every time a Fellow transcript gets categorized as a sales call, it triggers and all that. But like right now my volume doesn't really warrant that at this point, so I just manually trigger that when I'm done. So
it's amazing, man. The possibilities, the ideas are just like endless. Like I literally thought of like 5 ideas just from that. That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah,
Appreciate it. But yeah, thanks for sharing your knowledge, man. This was an awesome session. I learned a lot, and hopefully the readers, the listeners, found something of value. And of course, definitely, guys, reach out to Shane on LinkedIn, on Instagram. He's got so much more to offer beyond just the 30 minutes that we record on podcast. So thanks again, man.
Yeah, thanks everybody.